I found out that I had a kidney disease, FSGS, and at the point I was at 60% function. At that point, Dr. Hawkins thought that he could prolong it for 50 years or so, wasn't sure, but went for about 3 or 4 years and everything was fine, and then all of a sudden a fast decline, and then in the summer of 19 is when he said it was time to think about a transplant because my numbers had decreased. Initial thoughts were scary, was uncertain, wasn't sure, but after a lot of talking to other doctors and other people and then being at the med center, going through their process, it all became a lot easier. My initial thoughts were that it was the best option for me. It would be the speediest and more than likely the healthiest option. It was shortly after that I found out that I would be on the transplant list. I personally did not let John know, my wife did, and I think John was one of the first ones to sign up to be a kidney donor.
You know, ever since I can remember getting into education, you always think, what could I do to help one of my students if needed? And so his wife Taylor works at our school, and so we worked together, and I knew his parents pretty well, and when it started to come through that when I was told that he needed a kidney and that they were looking for live kidney donations, I was like, well, this is no-brainer to me. I didn't even ask my wife. I signed up at school before I went home, and to me it was a no-brainer. It was something that I knew that I had to do. No hesitation, and then I realized I needed to talk to my wife about it afterwards. So I did talk to her that night, and she was on board as well. So I wanted to help. I think I wanted to help. I wanted to do what I can, and his wife Taylor was pregnant. You know, they're pregnant with their first kid, and I just kept thinking, man, I want, when that baby comes, when Hadley comes, I want you know, Derek to be feeling good and be healthy and enjoy that moment with his family. And so I felt like there was no reason to say no, for sure, and I wanted to do what I can to help. You know, my loved ones were mostly supportive, I will say. My wife was a little upset that I didn't ask her first, that I didn't talk to her about, you know, hey, we should have talked about this before, because I have 4 kids of my own, and so we talked a lot about, you know, what if something happens to one of our kids? You know, what if one of our kids needs a kidney and I'm no longer a donor? And I just felt at that point, you know, there was a great response. I think over 50 people signed up to be a donor for Derek, and so I just felt like if something happens to one of my kids, or if my wife needed something, or if I needed something in the future, that it would be a similar response. And so we just felt very good at that point that our community would rally around us and that we would have the similar size support as Derek did. And I think one of my sisters, I have a brother who passed away several years ago, and so I think my younger sister was initially a little scared, you know, having already lost one older brother. She didn't want to lose another one, but we talked about the whole process and the success rate. And then it kind of put her at ease. So I think everybody initially, when you hear one of your loved ones is going to give a kidney freely or give a organ freely to someone else, I think there's a little panic, but overall extremely supportive. You know, there was a lot of people that I met. Everybody was so great to work with. Gina was my main contact here in the main office. She was the one who made most of the phone calls to me and set up my appointments. And when we came in, Derek and Taylor had come in before us for all of their testing and evaluation, and so we came in kind of having a good idea of what to expect, and we were, you know, I was told by Gina what to expect, kind of all the different tests that were to be done, and it was over a day or two, we came up and met a lot of people, some of the great doctors here, and you know, some of the other staff that did a lot of the tests were just great to work with as well. So I felt, you know, at one point my wife and I kind of laughed, you know, if I'm ruled out, at least this is a free physical, right? I mean, it's one of the most in-depth physicals I'm probably ever going to get, and so it felt good to know that I don't have anything major health wrong with me, and that I can move forward with this. And so so yeah, it was a good experience. It was a really good experience. You know, I kept telling myself there's no way that I can not do this. You know, there's no way that I can walk away from this and say no. You know, there would be people that would ask, like, how could you even consider, you know, when aren't you afraid? And well, sure, there's fear, but I think my strong faith and just knowing that everything will work out the way it's supposed to, and I felt good. And again, I got to the point where I was like, there's no reason not to do this, and I can't not continue to move forward until they tell me not. You know, I'm ruled out. So.
I was pretty excited, nervous. Yeah, it was all kind of a hurry, rush type deal. I mean, you really don't know when it could be or when, and all of a sudden they call you and say we can do it in a week or whatever. And they kind of asked the donor more when it works for him best more than it works for the recipient, which makes sense. But it was kind of funny. He always knew everything way in advance than I did, and he would call me and my nurse would call me and say, yeah, I'm sure you talked to John, but here's the news. And so, yeah.
Our deadline, we actually had a date set, and then COVID kind of screwed it all up.
Yep.
And so we had a date set, it was December, I think the first one was.
Yep, it was gonna be the 26th, I think.
Yeah, and then we both ended up testing positive for COVID, and so in the whole new world that we lived in, it pushed everything back to February, so, yeah.
It was very good. The care was excellent, and I think I was in the hospital for 6 days, I believe, and they took very good care, and was ready to go home, of course, at the end of it, but couldn't complain one bit.
My hospital stay was good. It was much shorter than Derek's. I was able to go home after, I think, 2 nights, maybe 2 or 3 nights. Very well taken care of. You know, it was kind of funny. Another former student was one of my nurses, which was kind of interesting and unique to see. Hadn't seen him in a long time, and so that was good to see him, and he took good care of me as well. And so it was good. You know, several times when I was forced to get up out of bed to walk, I certainly didn't want to, but it was good. You know, it was excellent. It took a little while. You know, there were some minor hiccups along the way. I found out my body does not dissolve stitches very well. And so that was a little minor thing to work through. But, you know, my wife is in the medical field, and so when I came home, she was a great help. My kids were awesome, kind of new. My little one, he was 2 at the time. He always wanted to crawl on top of me, and so we had to explain what was going on. And he kept saying things like, Dad, did they take your candy? So just kind of those funny little things, but it was good. A couple, you know, things I just had to get used to, and figuring out how to roll out of bed the right way, and how slow to take it. I think I probably went back to work a little too soon, and I was itching to get out of the house, and there was a little bit of pain there, but overall it was good. I returned to work roughly 2 weeks after surgery for half days. I started doing half days. No manual labor. I work in education, and so I didn't have to lift anything or anything like that. And I tried not to walk around as much as I normally did, which was hard. I like being around in the school with the kids. But I did half days at first, and I think I took a couple days off in the middle because there was a little bit of pain around where the incision was. But But overall, it was good. Kind of slowed it, eased it in, and yeah, about 2 weeks returned back. I will say I couldn't eat as much early on. You know, after having a surgery, I wasn't able to eat as much just because I got full really fast, and if I ate too much, it was just kind of uncomfortable. That was really early on. I did lose, I don't know, probably 14 pounds during the whole thing. So it was, but it was good. I didn't have any major, and I have no major restrictions now, other than I can't have ibuprofen. But other than that, it's pretty much life is normal.
I would say the biggest thing for future patients would be is to don't wait, just do. If they tell you you need to get the process started, get started, because your kidneys can decline pretty fast, and this process doesn't happen overnight. Mine was, I felt, pretty fast. I think I started in September with the paperwork, and by February had the kidney. So I mean, overall it was very speedy. But then to ask loved ones is a hard one. But I was fortunate enough to have many people offer. Just having the conversation, and the more people you talk to, the more people you found out that had either kidney problems, or they had donated a kidney, or they only had one kidney, and it's amazing. A lot of the stuff you don't know until you start talking to everybody about it.
I think the best advice I could give would be, for me, like I've said, it was just, you know, how can I not do this for someone else? And so I think put yourself in their shoes. You know, if your loved one were to ask you, or a friend or someone were to say, hey, I need this, and this is something I'm going through, you know, if you would be willing to take that step for someone else, there's going to be a lot of other people willing to take that step for you too. So just ask, you know, have that conversation and start that communication. There's so much good information out there to learn more about a living kidney donation. So don't be afraid to ask and have those conversations. In Nebraska City right now, we actually have somebody I work with has a relative who needs a kidney. And they asked me this exact question. They said, you know, tell me about it, what would you do? And I said I would do it again in a heartbeat, you know, regardless of the pain and the several weeks there where things were difficult. It was never too hard where it wasn't 100% worth it. And I still remember the first time I saw a picture after Taylor had their daughter, and every picture for several months I saw a picture of Derek on the tractor with his daughter or playing with her or whatever, and I got a little, you know, that to me, that's what this was about, and that meant something to me, and that was it, you know. And so I would 100% do it again if I could. So don't hesitate. I would say we've definitely gotten a lot closer. You know, I taught Derek, I know his family, I worked with his wife, but you know, a piece of me is, he carries it with me at all times. And it's been an awesome blessing. You know, obviously I wish that Derek would have never had this and that we wouldn't have had to go through this, but it's been a blessing to see the benefits from it. And it's been a blessing to be such a, you know, a closer part of their family, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, we have definitely grown closer. Our families all together. And he did, in fact, name the kidney before he gave me the kidney. So he named it Kenny, so he's always asking how Kenny is.
I like alliteration, right?
Yeah, and it's been good. I mean, it's definitely gotten a lot closer, and I am carrying around part of him, but it's I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's just a different bond now.